Hey guys, welcome to the episode. It is a long-awaited guest for you guys today. It's Almir Colan. This guy is an expert in Islamic finance. He's the CEO of Olive Investments and he's the director for Australian Centre of Islamic Finance. We asked about Bitcoin, NFTs, index funds, stocks, what to invest in, what not to, how the perspective should be on money, investing, how to put Barakah in your money. There's so many topics. You guys are going to take a lot away from this episode. I hope you guys do enjoy the episode. And that's it.
Where I feel we are not even allowing ourselves to dream to do something in a sense of, like, if we think about that money, when I ask students, they would usually just spend it to solve some problems. It's very transactional, but like very often we don't intentionally sit and say, okay, you know what? How can I do something with this money that produces something, that builds something, where I am actively doing something, where this is enabling me?
So one of the things, everyone knows you as the Islamic finance guy, you know, Elmer, you're known as the guy people come to for questions, and all they do sometimes ask you questions. So sometimes we don't get to know the person behind, you know, the answers. So I'd love to kind of figure out why you got into Islamic finance. Was it something back home in Bosnia? Was it something here where someone kind of like taught you the ropes and then you kind of got good at it early on? So
I started learning about different kinds of transactions and I got interested in finance from technical side. I never thought that will be some form a major part of my interest. It was usually boring stuff in finance that you see or hear, and then you say, why would anybody study this dry subject? But more and more I started realizing that Islamic finances or finance is so important to whatever we are doing. And I tell people, one funny story happened to me when I was with my brother in Bosnia. Two of my brothers, we were traveling. And wherever we would go, he used to work in a bank, small, medium sort of bank. So he was a guy who was collecting payments and debts, you know, debt collector. He was the head of debt collection. So he would go and find these people no matter where they are, like Switzerland or something, figure out through Facebook, like track them down and knock in the middle of the night. So I remember whenever I go to Bosnia, we try to catch up with my brothers and travel. And so one of these particular journey, I remember we would travel. And no matter where we would go, he would say to us, oh, I have a client here. Like small city, big city, 3 people city, he's got a client. And I said, like, how can you have a client? It's not even the biggest bank. Like, there's no way. I said, what are they doing? He said, well, this one is a baker, so we finance his bakery. This one has a factory, or this one is doing this and that. And so it struck me how banking is integrated in everything that people are doing. And so I say to my students, I learned 2 things about bankers that journey. One is that they have clients everywhere. And the second is they know the best restaurants everywhere.
So that's what we got into.
And so, you know, and the reason why they know restaurants is that's where they take their clients to. You know, they have all the meetings, he travels. And so, you know, we were listening this story on the radio that somebody won a lottery and the prize was, I think, $100 million or more than that. And so I asked them, like, what would you do, like, if you won $100 million? What would inheritance or some halal way, you know? And everybody always, whenever I talk to my students they're all about, oh, I would pay my parents, I'll buy my parents' house, buy myself something and invest something, give something. And like everybody thinking about this 100 million or whatever number in sort of passive ways, like how would I spend it or give to someone to invest? And what I realize is that to change really a situation in any society, to lift everybody up, you need to create sort of a system where you have a people who lead in providing the benefit, producing things, and then everything else follow. The money follow, the resources follows. The key trick is people. I realized from that example that actually money is very important, and we need some kind of institutions and the processes to integrate the ideas and money and all of that to be an engine for our economy, especially if good people have it in their hands. But more importantly, the attitude is to have right people who will lead with ethics, with the right vision, what we want to create here. And so I realized more and more as I started studying that Islam really wants us to be people who are contributing and doing something that is good for the community. And large component of that is money. So how we spend it, how we earn it, what do we do with it. So this is how basically it started.
The money was not the goal. It was just a means to get the goal, which is the people. And that's where you want to build people. That's the goal, education.
Yeah.
So the financial side of it, the boring side of it, not the Islamic side of it, is what motivated you or kind of interested you?
Yeah, it's the whole idea that we as Muslims, we should be risk takers. We should be people who are producing. And even when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, he built the market after the mosque immediately. The companions came there, they built themselves up. So this became quickly source of strength of the Muslim community. And remember, they are running away from Mecca where they are economically boycotted. They can't work, they can't do business, they cannot sustain themselves, so they have to go. And so so often in our history, we find ourselves in similar situation where you are a lower hand depending on someone. And then the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us a lesson that don't depend on anyone. Be kind of independent. Have something that will be your engine, your economic engine that will support your lifestyle so that you can live independent of other people.
No community can ever be successful if it's dependent on other people. But you said the word risk taker, and that stood out to me because a lot of young people, we might take risks in multiple different areas with jobs, with friends, with even like starting a podcast, but with our finances, we hold tight to it. And if someone says invest in something, so when you said risk take, was that a big financial side or was it in all areas of your life, like as Muslims?
I think the risk taking is an attitude that you have. Often people who take a risk, they are afraid, what if I fail? What other people will think of me and say? And so I think successful communities, they develop this attitude towards the risk that, you tried. If you succeed, well done for you. You know success. If you fail, you know failure. But like that famous quote, if you remember, a man in the arena says that if you don't try and you don't either fail or succeed, you know nothing. You don't matter. You're just on the sidelines. So you don't even taste the defeat. And so the guy who dares greatly try to do something, even when he fails short,
he learned something.
We should celebrate that. So it's a state of mind.
You're right, because when you think about it, what's one of the biggest facets of our deen? Tawakkul, yeah? So tawakkul is basically us being risk takers, doing what Musa alayhi salam's mother did when she threw the baby into the water with the basket basically, and goes, you know what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knowing, and if he's at the wheel, come on. When can we go wrong, And if we don't take risks, there's no big rewards, you know what I'm saying? If you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So subhanAllah, to think about it like that in general, like what part of life do we withhold ourselves when it comes to risk though? That's the only thing that I'm thinking about, because I'm a big believer in discipline, only because I was so much of a risk taker when I was a bit younger. So I think I'm not too sure. I would love to give you advice on it. Like, where does the limit stand? You know what I mean? So financially, especially. So like as a person who wants to invest, do you invest majority of your money? Do you keep a certain amount to yourself? Do you save some? Do you put some in a fund or a mortgage for a house? Or what's the go there?
Well, the thing with risk, once you risk a little bit and you put yourself you learn from that, hopefully. And so the people who if you look at people who go for adventure, you go to the, I don't know, jungle, you go hunting or something, you are ready. You don't, it's adrenaline rush for you. So that's how the risk is. It's a necessary component of even fun, or even anything that is worth doing. Interesting. It carries some component of risk.
Okay.
So the way you look at a risk is you train yourself like a muscle. More you take risk, more you do something, your mentality, your mental fitness gets stronger. So you are able to grasp the whole idea, the concept, navigate it, hold it together, think through it, And so if we apply that to business or anything, if you apply to finance, then you need to train yourself a little bit. Obviously, you should hopefully work and save a little bit of money, let's say, for a young person, and then try it. Maybe I want to do this, invest here or there. Just let me test out. A lot of people ask me, what do I do? They want to invest in shares, let's say. Okay, buy a few shares, hold it, see how the process goes, what's happening, what do you like, investigate, and so on. I know some communities here, same. They bring themselves together, and then they say, we want to buy a house and then sell it a little bit later on. So just you try little by little, and then you work your way through that.
So you're a big believer on everyone finding their own journey. Because, for example, one person might be, I want to prioritize real estate, and one person wants to do index funds and wants to do stocks and whatever, or NFTs and crypto. There's not one pathway that's going to get you to the end goal. You're a big believer in just kind of trial and error, especially in your young years, and take those risks, and then whatever happens.
I think try out.
Okay.
See how it feels. Like some things you cannot just learn from reading. You have to have some sense. So you playing like a video game, you play how it goes, and they shoot you in the video game. Oh, this is how it works, and you start navigating. Then I mean, you want to experience different things. You want to get a bigger perspective, a big grasp. When I speak with the guys who manage like billions of dollars, professional fund managers, what they tell me when they advise their clients, high net worth individuals, is that they always ask about bigger picture, like what's happening in economy, and then to the small detail, what are the trends, and then until they come to the fund manager, how he actually makes investment decision for them, and then they let the professional continue doing that. But you want to form that picture, and more you do it slowly, you gain perspective.
I think there's a lot of listeners who are at the beginner stage of investing. Like they hear the idea where Hal was talking about saving, and we hear Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, say savers are losers. I shouldn't save my money, I should invest. And we want to touch into real estate, we want to touch into stocks. For a beginner, I know you have your master classes online, and everyone should be checking that out, because you can't just come to one podcast and learn everything. But what are some beginner steps people can take to learn more about investing, and then even take those steps?
Well, you look at what's available to you, like where can I invest? Usually young people, they don't have that much disposable income to invest in. So perhaps before they even invest, they need to think a little bit about, I need some kind of a job, something that generates income. And so your career journey, whether you work for someone, you start something, you need to take care of that part, and then you discipline yourself to save. So as they say, you delay gratification of, you don't just impulse spend your money. You put some target. Okay, this is, let's say you earn, I don't know, $250 a week, for example. I don't know how much young people these days earn, but like, let's say $250 a week, for example. Like somebody maybe high school or university student just starting.
It's like slavery.
19 years, I don't know, like.
Doesn't matter, bismillah.
So you say, all right, I'll spend $100, I'll save $150 a week, So you say, okay, so that's me $150 a week. I spend times 4 is 600, what's that in 1, 2, 3 years? And so you say, okay, all right, let me take maybe a third of that, and maybe I want to buy some shares just to see how that whole process is going.
Okay. On
Yeah.
that, for example, we're talking about a kid who's got $5,000 in the bank
Mhm.
account, and he says, Bismillah, I want to invest a bit of it. You know, sometimes like you open an app or you watch a video and there's all these numbers and, you know, abbreviations, and it's just too much for you. You know, it's overwhelming, and you're like, what should I do?
Yeah.
I'd rather do nothing, because in my bank account, I know it's safe.
Mhm.
So maybe you might even recommend, for example, crypto might be more overwhelming than stocks. So is there maybe a first thing to kind of like a baby step that they can take in the right direction?
You would say, okay, like let me play with $500, see what, so that I make sense of those numbers and charts and colors, you know, and then that starts make sense very quickly. Obviously, before all of that, you kind of would want to have understanding. Where am I investing? What am I part of? So you would want to filter certain investments. What's you know, halal, for example. What's something that is maybe problematic or unethical or something like that. So you would hopefully learn a little bit. So you focus. I have a good friend of mine who got his son certain shares in the companies that he every day use. You know, like this is, let's say, which company makes this? All right. Do they have shares? All right. I use this. Let me buy him share. $1,000 worth of share of this company, for example. And then he got interested. His son got interested because he got him maybe, let's say, 5,000 worth of stocks of the things he use every day. And so that sort of connected him. Okay, so this company produced these phones and things and that I use. So it sort of connects you more. So you want to have a connection to, all right, this is real. Like now.
I've heard that. Kevin Hart said that. He goes, I use toothpaste every day. So one of the first investments I ever did was in a toothpaste company.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, that's because it just was real.
Makes sense, yeah.
You said about knowing, like, if a stock's halal, if it's ethical. For example, I have to be honest, I have zero idea if I open up a stock to know if it's ethical or if it's halal, besides if it's like alcohol or something like that, you know?
And also sometimes when you research, there's a lot of blurred lines. Like a lot of people don't really overly, they don't show you the full portfolio, but you know that there's something a bit grey about it, you know? So maybe we just wanted to know, like, those stocks or those shares in specific, would you still like advise somebody to stay away from it, steer clear of it, or would you tell them to give it a go?
So there are some apps where you can screen like for Sharia compliance in terms of the shares.
Okay. What's
so
the app called?
There is one, for example, Zoya.
Zoya?
I mean, you can search. There are a number of different ones. There is one Islamic.
No, I have to invest after this podcast. If I don't invest after I'm on a podcast about investing,
and also don't ask us what we're investing in. Yeah.
There is another one, Islamic Key or Islamically something.
We'll put it under anyway, so people
there
know.
are a few of these. I mean, So, but you can generally see is the core business something that is permissible. You know? Is this something that is the core, and then you can a little bit learn to.
Is it also something where, like Islamic finance and the fiqh of it, do you think it's something where it's like the fiqh of salat, fiqh of zakat? You have to learn these things because it's like a fard of your life. Islamic finance, do you think that's something where we should be outwardly seeking that knowledge? Or is it okay for one person to know and we ask questions to? Like, you know, how there's...
So up to the level where you are involved in financial dealings, you should learn that.
How can we learn it?
So you need to maybe get a couple of the books. There are some courses, there are podcasts, there are, like even university courses, master degrees. So up to the level, like let's say you are a lawyer, accountant, businessman, you signing some contracts, you are paying, you're doing online shopping, you are entering in engagement, you're soliciting funds. So you need to know Islamic rules regarding business transaction, not just finance, but a whole suite of business transactions.
I know you have masterclasses, podcasts, and there's a ton of knowledge out there for people to actually go and join. But you said books as well. Is there any books that maybe someone can go be like, okay, I'll go get those as well?
Like for beginners,
yeah.
The great book, overall book that I recommend is Understanding Islamic Finance by Professor Dr. Muhammad Ayub. It's a great book, covers so many different topics.
Perfect.
That's one of the books that gives you
Mm.
maybe 80% of the things that general
Mashallah.
person needs to know.
Mashallah, that's beautiful. And on the stocks thing, I've heard a lot of people, I've read like a couple books, Barefoot Investor, Psychology of Money, and both of them recommended using index funds. And I know, like, for example, an index fund like gets little percentages from like the top 200 companies, maybe in Australia or in America, but some companies might not be halal, so I'm not too sure. It's something where I haven't taken that step. Can you tell me, like, if it is halal, if it isn't, and maybe another alternative, so I can be like, okay, bismillah. Because for me, I've looked at investing, and it's always been a very time-consuming investment. And I just haven't put the time in because I didn't know where to go, and I thought an index fund might be a good way to just put the money and kind of get a good grasp on it.
Yeah, the challenge for index fund is, as you mentioned, that a lot of stocks that is included is not Sharia compliant. So therefore, maybe half of your portfolio would be ruled out. Like in Australia, maybe a third of the index would be financial and interest-based companies. And then there will be other companies that are highly leveraged, a lot of debt. So what you might do is you might look at something that is more targeted specifically. And like you, at the end of the day, whatever you invest, you are partnering in that. So you want to avoid partnering with businesses that don't fit your value system, basically.
Is it something that we are, like, is it our responsibility to invest in companies that fit our values? Because, for example, there might be a company like some petrol station or petrol company, and I know it's going to make money. But then now you're talking about the values of me investing money. Is there two sides to investing?
So you have strictly like what's kind of halal,
Money.
black and white kind of yes or no. And then you have more higher sort of concepts, higher than halal. Like in the food, okay, this is halal. But, that chicken full of antibiotics and, like all of that junk.
Okay.
It's not really wholesome. It's kind of
good way to
halal.
put it.
It's slaughtered. I guess it's slaughtered halal. The guy said Bismillah.
Definitely.
But do I want to eat that junk like McDonald's?
Course.
So that's the kind of scale you start going up, where there must be a different level of ethics.
Okay.
100%.
And on that, I know there's, for example, it's not called index funds. I'm still new to it, but there's groups of like tech, they call like tech savvy and healthcare and ethical. It's like they'll invest in Facebook, Google, Apple, and it's like you can invest in all of them as like 10 or 20. Would those things be halal?
You can invest. They have some of these funds that buy bits and pieces of everything, like you said, technology or something.
Healthcare,
And
ethical.
Yeah,
those are all.
so it's very easy for somebody who's just starting, and they sometimes allow you to buy with a fraction of that. They have these exchange traded funds and whatever these words and funds, and you can buy a little fraction in that pool of investments, so that you can say, well, I'm also on Facebook and Twitter, portfolio and stuff.
Pfizer, why not?
Exactly.
They stabbed me enough these days, bro.
Get a jab. I'm a shareholder.
Yeah, make sure you get 2 jabs. Man, get the booster as well. Why not? I wanted to switch up the conversation. I don't know if you had any more questions about shares.
I was going to go to real estate.
I was gonna go there. I
wanted
wanted to switch up to real estate, and especially this idea of first home owning. And for us, because at our age now, everyone's starting to look to move to that next point of life. Everyone's now looking to get basically a roof over their heads, get married, leave the home, get their own nest, inshallah. But I wanted to ask what the situation is with, especially is like Islamic finance. Like whenever we go to a certain bank, I don't want to really say the Islamic bank's name or whatever, just in case we get sued for defamation. We don't have that money. But once we go to that place, I've heard from a lot of shuyukh or people that I look up to in the community, stay away from them and whatever. They still deal in riba, they still deal in interest. And then a lot of the times, like us young people are just we're just getting pinballed around like, yes, don't, yes, do, yes, do, yes, don't, yes, it's okay when you're first time buying, it's okay when you're not doing this, it's not an investment. What? Can you just please clear the air on all that? I know I've spoken a lot in that situation, but please just clear the air for us on first time buying.
Yeah, it's a challenge to go into these contracts and read what's happening. No, you need to know first of all, like just a normal commercial law. What is talking about when you read these contracts? What's the law saying, and behind the scene what's happening, and then you have to have some Islamic idea. And structuring these contracts for this context in Australia to have Islamic transaction, it's not easy. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Like in Islamic law, you need to buy something so you can then sell it. So I need to take possession of something so I can then sell you. Now, financial institutions, they cannot buy things. So how do you then structure transaction? If you can't buy, how do you sell to me? And so then you have all of these lawyers, and then they create all of these structures to take ownership and, so to satisfy these conditions of a valid sale. And so in Australia, we have a number of institutions who are trying to do that for a long time. In Australia, we had Islamic finance more than 30 years. And so it's went through different phases and stages and how it's done, and the laws also change a little bit here and there. I would say in general, when you look at these organizations, see who they have on their Sharia advisory board. Do they have a license for what they do?
Are you on any of the boards?
I'm on the Sharia board for MCCA.
Okay.
So you check who they have on that board, what their experience is, what sort of a team is behind, what sort of license they have. This is a governance piece, which is that they have all the licenses and they are legitimate kind of a business. So you wanna check legitimacy of the business and the Sharia side, and then you go and ask a question, maybe explanation. In Australia, none of these are 100% everything that we would like in this example, So we have to come up with ways that you actually take ownership, sell it. How do we price that? So there are a lot of small bits and pieces that scholars, they think, okay, in this context, how do we actually do that? So it's not just like, is there a riba or not? There's other things, other considerations that we need in the contract to make it valid. So I'd say that we did have some companies that were kind of like doing something without license and illegally doing some stuff, where a lot of people got unfortunately in trouble. And but I would say most of the operators, they're trying their best. And
on that means you being on the MCCA board, you probably experience a lot of people coming in for investments or investing. And I would like to know, us young people, do you see maybe people invest in real estate maybe too young? Like they don't really have the capital and they rush it or something like that. Like should they maybe be prioritizing stocks until maybe 30, until they have 20% and they know they're comfortable? Or should it be like the
whole rent debate?
Yeah.
So renting versus buying.
I don't believe, like some of these advisors, that a house is your liability, that you should just jump into the world of investment and things like that. I mean, if you want to, I love people who start their own business, especially young. You don't have responsibility. Try. If you have some ideas, you're an entrepreneur, jump into something, try something. You guys start a podcast, somebody start a business, somebody start something. That's a great idea. I believe that is the essence of any economy. That's the heart of any economy. People who take initiative. Now, when it comes to a young person, there is more pieces to life than just financial decisions. So buying a house is a lifestyle. So I don't subscribe to Kiyosaki's model where just buy and rent. And this is a disconnected. This is for the people who don't have any community. They're loners and they just care about numbers, And so what my advice would be is that if you're a young person, get a job or start a business, work for somebody, like whatever generates the money. Take care of your economic engine that produce income, whatever that is. It's a separate story. Now, once that produce, get a house. Getting house in the right neighborhood with the right people where you can settle down, pay that off as quickly as possible.
So you recommend trying to get a house?
Try to get a house.
Okay.
Establish yourself in your community. Get that uncertainty. So get some basic savings that can be 6 months, 12 months, so that you are secure.
A lot of people talk about banks. Like, for example, I'm leaving $10,000 in the bank and I don't have interest on it, so it's not growing in anything. And because of inflation, because of that, my money's not doing anything. On the path to wanting to buy a house, I have a goal in 5 years, inshallah, I want to buy a house, for example. Should I be just saving, or should I be in the meantime trying to also learn about stocks? Because it can be, quite demanding to be doing that.
When you are saving for your deposit, you don't want to put it in some asset classes which are risky. So you invest always money that is not your saving, that is playing money, that if you lose it, you are okay with that. So if you are saving and you say, okay, 5 years, I want to get deposit done, all right, you don't want to play. So you want to put it somewhere low risk. There are some Islamic alternatives, some income funds where it's a pretty low risk, not much return, but at least fights that inflation, and so you might want to explore that option. But once you get it done, you try to get it done quickly, finish that house, because you also want to build your lifestyle, that you are in your community, and you want to build that life around that community. So once you pay off that and you establish yourself, then you start thinking about bigger things. But yeah, that's my philosophy around the house. House is important piece of the family.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling from you that like the money, because when you talk about finances and investments, everyone's always focused on the money. Yeah, I invested 500 and I got 800 back. It's all about money. And I'm getting that feeling from you, someone who's actually, that's your full-time job. That's your industry for 15 years. How long have you been in the industry? Sorry, I don't want to quote it. Over 15 years?
I don't even think about it
but Bismillah, you've been in the industry and your focus is about, it's not even about the money. It's just a means to the goal of, like you said, building a community. You kept reinforcing that idea of building people. And it's subhanAllah, it's good to see that, because then people can kind of try to take that methodology where it's like, even when I'm investing isn't the goal. All it's going to do is kind of make the other areas of my life easier.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, sorry if you're going to continue. No, I just wanted to ask, so like, for example, say a person got themselves into a situation now and they have to get married, but they can't buy a house because they don't have enough savings. But they want to get into, for example, they've got a job, they want to get into purchasing a house, but they get turned down by a Islamic Finance Bank. And even if they don't get turned down by Islamic Finance Bank, they might get this advice from somebody saying that the interest rate, regardless, the interest rate is lower if you go straight to the bank yourself. So there's no point, and I've heard this a lot from people, like, you might as well just bite the bullet on this one. It's your first home. It's only 1.8% or whatever it is in like the Commonwealth Bank or whatever it is. So would you tell people just rent, like be quiet for now, and then just kind of like do your thing, and then do your thing over the long term? Or would you actually say like, because it's a very specific scenario. Not for me. I'm just
sure.
Look, it's even before you marry, when you meet your wife and you think about, okay, we should get married. Hopefully, both of you are thinking, what's the lifestyle we want to live? Why are we getting together? Like, what's gonna be the point of that? Like, and so hopefully you're getting married to live a certain lifestyle, to be part of the community, to build something that is greater than both of you together. Okay, and so part of that is you establishing yourself, you being with the community, doing things that are in line with your ethical and religious beliefs. So getting the house is a big purchase, but it's also it's something that is telling you something about your own value that either can build your confidence or it can erode a lot of things in your life. I mean, one of the things that we don't usually talk about when you talk about money is the blessing in the money. You know, we just think about $100, like every $100 is the same. So we think, okay, if I don't get that 100 and this go 100 here, all right, that's one component of money. You know, there is another piece behind, which is the blessing. And a lot of people know, like blessing of time. You have it 24 hours, just poof, no way. You lose it. And that same thing is with money. So going into something that is clearly Allah declare war against, I mean, you know, it's definitely going to rob you of a lot of these barakah, blessing of a lot of things in your life. So you don't want to establish yourself. Second thing is conventional and Islamic institution now, after 30 years, they are pretty much neck and neck. They're not that big of a difference. So that excuse used to be before. Like now, halal meat. Halal and other meat is, you know, like I think $1 or $2 per 100 kilo difference, you know. Like it's a small price for halal certification. And so I would say if you are just got married, you working, you building your life, you can't afford it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about house, don't worry about affording. Try to build a relationship with your wife. Try to establish yourself. Try to be stable in life. Relax. Grow. Build yourself. Invest in yourself. Invest in your relationship. Invest in your relationship with the community. So don't always just make the money piece and the house piece and the dead objects relationship with those things the priority. You know, there are living people around you. So if you do that and you get your life, and you know, if the bank rejects you and they say you can't afford it, that's a good thing. You know, you didn't. I mean, we had a global financial crisis because the banks were giving loans to people who couldn't afford them. We don't want that. That's irresponsible. So build yourself, and hopefully, inshallah, once you are in that position, Allah bless you with more income. You know, you patiently build yourself up. Don't try to compromise just to jump.
So don't try to rush it.
Don't rush it. Don't rush.
Yeah, I think you made an interesting point because you spoke about barakah with time, barakah with money. I know Imam Ghazali says to have barakah with your time, you need a point in your time. You need to have like a plan with it. You can't just be like an animal and let your day go past. But I've never heard anyone talk about like maybe how you can put barakah with your money. Maybe is it intention? What can kind of bring maybe more barakah with your money? Is it giving sadaqah? What type of things?
Everything. A good relationship with your families, halal, what you're earning. Like we will be asked on the Day of Judgment how you spend your youth, your time, your everything. What did you do with your body? And what did you do with your money? How did you earn it and how did you spend it? So keeping yourself honest in your dealings, in your transactions is the best way to increase the barakah. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said that honest businessmen will be on the Day of Judgment, resurrection with the shuhada and the prophets and good people, which tells you it's a big deal to be honest in your dealings.
Yeah, there's a very interesting lecture I listened to of Khalid Yasin about like businessmen in Islam.
Entrepreneurs, yeah.
Yeah, and he talks about how like all the Sahaba and all that stuff was very, very interesting. So you guys can check that out. You said an interesting thing about, I keep saying interesting. You said a point about success and, you know, about money and finances. And you spoke about people that you said have net worth. They're talking about billions, they're organizing. And to us, $10,000 is a lot of money. Maybe not to sell. But I wanted to know about the success like in this life and the next, because when people talk about money and they have the money, their idea of like the next life and this life, what is even like a lot of money isn't that much. Because I think there was a study maybe in the US, I think it was $70,000, and here it's a bit higher, where your happiness doesn't increase with your income after a certain amount. And you probably know because you've been working full time for X amount of years. How does that work with trying to like get the best of this life and the next?
I was just actually listening yesterday or today interview with this you know that YouTuber Ali Abdullah or something.
Yeah, Ali Abdullah. Yeah,
his best mate.
All right. And he got a podcast. I don't know what's called now, but he just started
Deep Dive with Ali.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta ask him about his birthday. He'll give it to you.
So he was interviewing this guy who I think he started a company that is into these healthy food and proteins and something. I don't know. He wrote a book, yeah?
Yeah.
No,
He did another one recently, a couple of days ago or something. Very recently.
Yeah, Gymshark was before. That was an interesting story. That was very interesting. I love that story. Beautiful story.
You want to jump in that episode?
But this guy, he made a company, I think it's some proteins and stuff like that. Anyway, he wrote a book. How did he get from, let's say, $500 to 300 million or something? Oh. Anyway, at one point in the interview, Ali asked him, like, how does it feel one morning to wake up? He sold the company with $300 million in your bank account, you know, like, and it's a kind of one of those interesting. I guess that goes back to the point that I was trying to ask my brothers, like what would you do with $100 million?
I also wanted to ask you that moment you woke up and saw 300 million. How did you feel?
You know, the interesting thing is, like, when you think about it, the one thing that we think that we will get is that content. Of course, like it's amazing thing and it's beautiful, and that's what he's saying. But he said one thing is that it brings its own set of challenges, you know. And they asked him, like, what do you mean? So he said, like, people become a little bit different and different expectation of you. And then you have to manage it. It's like you just inherited this big business. Now I need to manage portfolio, fund managers. You know, I can't just let the 300 million lying around. Like it's a full-time job. Sure, like he was saying, I could just now go on a weekend to Barcelona for a thing, and I guess that's great. But you see, as he was more and more talking, he was trying to find a meaning, like he wanted to do something positive with that money, and so I think the money is one of those things that when what's happening with a lot of people when I talk with my students, the point of question, what would you do with that money, or even your question about, you know, just waking up one day with the billions of dollars of money, or I think the point is that all of us kind of have a fear internally where I feel we are not even allowing ourselves to dream to do something, in a sense of, like, if we think about that money, when I ask students, they would usually just spend it to solve some problems. It's very transactional. But, like, very often we don't intentionally sit and say, okay, you know what? How can I do something with this money that produces something, that builds something, where I am actively doing something, where this is enabling me? And I found that people make money excuse, like the money is going to solve all of my problems. Where what I found out is that money really just follows ideas of other people. You know, if you have a good ideas, if you show leadership, if you do something that is interesting, innovative, what you will find out is money will follow you. And a lot of those people, if you follow those studies, who did wake up with hundreds of millions, see where they are a couple of years after. Money is gone.
It's like the people that win the lotto.
Yeah.
But you've probably asked people about the 100 million, and you say transactional. What is maybe a good mindset to have with answering that question? Or what's some answers you've heard that's like?
Yeah. So the trick in this question is what I'm trying to get, where I'm trying to get with that story is that to unlock your mind, so that I'm telling you, here's the $100 billion. That's just a number. After 100 million, like, it's just zero. It doesn't even any more meaning. Like, what would you do with 100 that you couldn't, with a billion you couldn't do with 100? Like, just the point is that you need to ask yourself, what would you be doing if the money is out of the table? Like, if the money is not an issue in your life. That's the essence of these kind of questions. In order to stop being fearful, oh, money, forget the money. Let's say money is off the table. Or put it in another way. What would you be doing right now if I give you guarantee that you will succeed? You understand? Like, what would you take on? What kind of challenge or problem? If you could, no one can guarantee it, but 100% success. Okay, how big would you dare to dream?
That's a good point. Because a lot of the time it's the financial risk that always people get stuck up on what their dreams are and stuff like that. So if you wanted to start a clothing business, which I think every Tom, Dick and Harry has now, but if you wanted to start a clothing business, a lot of people just kind of move away from it and they go, oh, but then what happens if I put so much money into it and then I lose it? And what I think, I don't want to speak for you, but what you're trying to say is take that jump anyway, and then, because then later on you don't even know what happens.
Why we have that fear to think about big, do something, you know?
Listening to his other concept, sorry to butt in, but he was, some guy was speaking about the idea of like authenticity, and like nowadays people lack authenticity in the sense that they do whatever everyone in the competition is doing. So then that competition changes their actual ways and their ideas and whatnot. So then what happens is in society, you filter out all these people with great ideas. And you're speaking about the concept of nowadays it's ideas that it's like one of the most like valuable currencies nowadays, you know. It's not like how hard you work or your 9 to 5s and whatnot. They go like, if you filter out all these guys and you have every Tom, Dick and Harry who starts a clothing business, then you won't get the Charlie Mungers or the Warren Buffetts or like your Elon Musk with these Tesla ideas and all that kind of stuff. So I think the biggest problem is people lack that authenticity to themselves, that they want to do this because they're good at it, you know? Because once you remove the money, you always still be doing it regardless. And they say that's why like artists and like musicians, often they thrive and they're one of the most successful, because even if you take the money aspect of it, you can't take their talent. You know what I mean?
I can touch on this only because I do marketing. It's majority of the time, it's what you're talking about is positioning. So it's basically like, you want to make sure that you focus on 2 or 3 key things that separate you, your business or your brand from others. So basically, whenever you're put onto a spectrum of whoever is in the competition, you're like, how do I place myself in the mind of the consumer? Am I more of a sustainable based thing? Do I care more so about the quality of the product? Do I care about the price? What am I competing with others on? And the only way to separate yourself is if, like you're saying, authenticity. It's basically like, I'm bringing a new and improved idea, and this is genuinely how I feel about this. So people are going to kind of gravitate towards you based off of that genuity. Is that the word? Yeah.
It's true. Even with like with the new hype, like for example, going back to investing, there's a new hype with like the cryptos in the last couple of years because of how much money there is in there. And it's the same thing with NFTs, you know,
quick
now.
money, bro.
And it's the same
Quick
thing,
money.
like for example, the idea of real estate. It's like we keep jumping from thing to thing to thing, and it's like that's where you kind of have to kind of know what works for you. Because I was listening to a person talk about investing advice, and he goes, you can't just take investing advice from anyone, because one guy might want to get a return in 3 months, and one guy want 30 years, and there's everyone in between.
Depends
what
on
you
your risk appetite. Yeah, 100%.
So you can't just. It's not just one person, and that's what a lot of people. We asked on our audience today, what's some investing questions? People like, what stock should we pick? What should we buy? What's the top 3 coins we should get? And I'm like, he can't answer that, because it's dependent on, there's so many different factors to take into
100%.
consideration. But it's just those kind of things where we look sometimes for, we don't want to stand out, and we look for the, like you said,
Instant gratification.
instant gratification.
Some guy came up to Charlie Munger and said the exact same thing. He comes up to him and he goes to him, what should I invest in? Or he goes, anytime someone asks me the question, what should I invest in or what stocks are best? He goes, that guy isn't serious. Because he's trying to ask me basically, if I was to rephrase his question, how can I get to where you are and get the money that you are without age being, the limiting factor? You know, he goes, you're not serious until you actually put in the action and the work towards it.
It's a great point. He's trying to copy him by just following his advice without understanding mechanics. You see, it's not a issue is not hitting the right advice. You will get right advice. You sometimes get wrong. Issue is what goes into this. Like how are you thinking? So sometimes you go left or right, but as long as your GPS is pointing to the right way and you're moving that way, that is fundamentally the most important thing. And I think going back to our original discussion is when people fail or succeed, that is just superficial stuff. The issue is this guy, talking about resilience. Is this going to get up? Is he going to be moving? Is he going to take initiative? Is he trusted to do what he says? Discipline, commitment, consistency. You showed me these qualities. I'm investing in that.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody who got lucky. And
I touched on Bitcoin, and then it made me realize like crypto, it's something that we should chat about because it's like a big thing for people. No? Would that be right? Or do you want something you want to say?
100%. No.
Yeah, because I feel like I've never gotten into it, and there's a lot of our audience who are very invested in it, but I'm not too sure. Is it like a grey area with halal and stuff like that? Just to touch on it first, or is it black and white? Maybe you could talk about just crypto in general.
Yeah, like technology. When we talk Islamically, Islam is neutral to technology. So how we structure the arguments and for or against will depend on the verdict that you get. So some people say it's not halal because X, or because they see this, or some people say that it's halal. It's the best thing in Islam is the gold, the next gold, whatever. And so depends how we analyze what goes into this. So these things are fluid. You need to invest time to sort of read and what's the bigger picture, what we are constructing, what's the ecosystem, what am I part of? And so based on that, you kind of say to yourself, do I want to be part of this or not,
Yeah,
But in the general sense, it's by most scholars and stuff, it's halal.
It's a mix. Some yes, some no.
Would you recommend, like, it's better to avoid if it's a mix? Because there's ikhtilaf, difference of opinion in things. But when you go into the haram category, you're in a bigger area than disliked and mustahab.
Yeah, what is it that categorizes something to become haram? Like, for example, I know that there was this huge thing about meme stocks. Sorry, meme coins. So basically, people would just go out on a whim and go, like, for example, I think there was the F Elon one, and then everyone just goes, you know what, it's on like the minimal amount of thing and it's going to shoot up really quickly, so they just go and throw it in there and they wait for the thing to blow up and then everyone's pulling out of it. And I think there was the GameStop the GameStop incident as well. So do things like that, like for example, like you're just kind of betting, basically, does that categorize it as haram in these situations?
Is it considered gambling as well?
So trading, when you go and trade, it is kind of one of those area where you are kind of creating a situation like day trading. If you're talking about quick, where people have either algorithms or something that they're just watching the charts and then going in and out quickly, okay? So that has some kind of a sense of gambling, Although people say, okay, it's permissible to buy and sell and trade. But usually when you think about buying and selling in the market, we are buying and selling so somebody gets something out of the market and then use it. We are not just having the market, like think about market in Medina. We have traders and just they between themselves just whole day. That we was like, what are you people doing? So there is an element there is some spirit of gambling there. And because it's so fast, if you look at the people who do it, even when it is, let's say day trading permissible, look at their lifestyle, glued 24/7. They tell you, forex trading, I'm sipping this,
Have to be up
I
in the
put
mornings.
this 20 minutes, I'm now in Hawaii sipping something, No, they don't sleep. They sleep 20 minutes and then rest is up, So it's because these are also very highly leveraged positions which can wipe you completely. And so then you come to the crypto and then we have 10,000 now, 20,000. I don't know how many we have, And then you say, every day we hear these pump and dumps and what am I into? Some coins 10,000% jump in a day. Really? Is this what is this? What am I buying into?
Can I ask, you don't have to maybe give details, but maybe just give a rough explanation of your investment portfolio. Because then when people kind of know what you kind of... Because when they go on your master classes and do see your blogs and podcasts, what you do kind of push, or what's your forte?
So we, our firm and our business and our focus is investing in healthcare.
Okay.
So I believe the best thing is to invest in something that produces benefit for people, and you partner in that. So therefore, I wouldn't invest. I would consider Bitcoin and these things unethical. I don't go into halal and haram because I think it's a matter of it's too harsh of labels. Yeah. But I would say that ecosystem around it.
It's too volatile.
It's more problems than just the volatility. Yeah. I think what you're building is unethical system, basically.
Do you know what's also interesting? If you invest in, like you said, healthcare because your intention is for barakah and benefit, even if you technically lose money on your investment, you gain good deeds because of what it is. But I'm just saying, like a Bitcoin or whatever it is, a cryptocurrency, you might just lose money. but at least you might be gaining in the next life because of the intention and the barakah.
And you wanna create in every opportunity once you are at the higher level. I mean, all of what I'm saying is you learning how to do things and how it goes. But really, where you wanna be? Like when really somebody's serious, they got serious job, they got serious money. When they come and ask me, like you said, serious question, I say invest in something that is close to you, where you can see investment and you could have your hand in it. So you learn from that, maybe local business, local group of people doing something, but you yourself are involved in it, and that grows you, grows your money, grows your community, grows you. That to me makes much more sense. So what we are doing with our fund is we are actually buying and creating the brand, medical centers, and partnering with the doctors, helping them become an owner, partners, running the business, doing everything. It's a, you know. So the other day we launched a thing, one of the clinic in Altona North. I was making barbecue, sausages, giving sausages, waving the flags, whatever. It's a beautiful feeling. Even when everybody go clean the, stuff, and we open in the clinic. We didn't have a spray for cleaning. Okay, go to the Woolly and buy that, and it's a beautiful feeling that you are involved. Then the table broke. Go Bunnings, fix the table. Do everything. Get yourself involved. So I think be involved in these things. So that would be
the tangibility of it. Yeah,
tangibility. You see it. You're creating benefit, and at the end of the day, we got into the crypto because people saw that money is losing value, whether inflation, whether we don't trust the government, or all of the story. And then the story got created like, if we only get into the crypto and different kind of money, we'll be ahead of the curve. Guess where that all money is going to go in economy? To people who produce stuff. So whatever money you have, gold, silver, cryptos, fiat, whatever, guess where that money is going to flow? To people who are producing things in that you are consuming. So that's where you want to be.
And things come from ideas.
So the future is going to be there. It's going to go back,
You see, the nations and countries that don't produce things for that they consume, strategically, they are gone. Look at the COVID. I have 5 kids. As soon as COVID hit, everybody want to have a new laptop, new phone, new something. Everybody's on a Zoom and stuff, So now I started ordering tens of thousands of dollars of these things, because from last year, none of that is good anymore. I have to have a new. So I'm looking, where is it coming from? From China. So we are, even as Australia, we get all technology. So government puts all of these stimulus that went to China. Then we have all the mask. Going to China. Active ingredients or medicine. Like we are running, we are printing money. It's escaping our country. What are we doing? Like,
100%. The idea of things is also like a powerful concept, because I was listening to something which was emphasizing like one of the easiest ways to make wealth is to basically bet on a great idea. And a lot of people nowadays, they get disheartened when their idea doesn't work. Like they might start a startup or something like that, and they shoot for it and it doesn't work. And then the concept, the major takeaway from that idea was that if you keep producing different ideas, one of them will actually work. And then that is enough to make you wealthy for life. People are betting on winning the lottery, or they're wedding, or one advice from like a Charlie Munger or you, for example. But they don't understand that it all comes from great ideas. The guy from Zoom, for example, during COVID, like his stock prices, or one of the owners of Zoom, went out the roof. He beat guys like Skype, for example. And it's like it's like an idea-based society nowadays, and I think people are forgetting that.
When you said ideas before and with creative and people following the pact, it made me think, as soon as Almir said healthcare, I'm like, that isn't attractive enough to people. When people say, what do you invest in? If you go healthcare, like not... A lot of young people like boring, but then you might say there's a 25% increase every year, for example. But then someone else like Bitcoin sounds better. Oh, what do you invest in? Crypto. Oh, you're on the ball. You're one of the smart guys. And then half the time they might be losing money. You know what I mean? Where it's like the instant gratification when people jump on the hype, where you're looking maybe as a different intention to investing. It's a good thing where people can say, okay, I'm not going to go on the hype.
If it makes money, it makes money at the end of the day. I think that's the main thing.
I think people just too obsessed with this instant gratification. 100%. There's Like for example, I can only just give a heads up about what I do. So basically, I just decided to learn a lot about sneakers or shoes, for example. Yeah, and I noticed that there's this thing where people want to look good. You know, people want to get involved in purchasing certain shoes that give them status in society. They look good with them. You know, there's a whole community that thrives off of wearing good shoes. But a lot of the times people can't get them. You know, so and the scarcity drives up the price of the shoes. So for me, as a person who goes there out of my way, does the hard yards to purchase those shoes, and then I sell it to them at a profit, I feel like, and this is the thing, like my mate would always tell me, oh, just go put your money in shares, go put your money in stuff. Well, I'm just always like, I'd rather fund that, you know, and put the money in there where I can get, like, even if, for example, I take a risk and I go, okay, I reckon this shoe will be really good in a year or so, and I buy it and then it ends up dropping and it ends up, if anything, losing money for me. Like, at least I have the tangible item or the good. So that's just me. I don't know, because that's what I'm interested in. You know what I'm saying?
And in what I'm hearing from you saying, you are betting on your terminology, betting.
Yeah.
You're betting on yourself, on your idea.
Mm.
No matter they might not be the biggest in the world idea, but it's my idea. You know, and isn't that what Jim Shark guy did?
Yeah, 100%.
Ben
The
Francis.
guy's name was Oliver Cookson, by the way.
I don't know.
Which guy? The second guy. Yeah.
The My
yeah.
Protein
Yeah.
guy, by the way.
And so, like the gym, we today were trying to sign up for the gym in the local area, and I was today in the one of the shops looking for some gym stuff. It's terrible, and I'm saying to my wife, like, I now understand why the business is big. Like, this is a shocking, terrible choice. Like Rebel Sport was there's nothing.
Even for me, I've been buying shirts, and a lot of them are very short here. So I'm going, and I'm like, yesterday I found out that Puma is my brand, because each brand has different sizes. Puma makes the tops really long, so it's nice like that, but it's so hard to find.
Yeah,
To prevent the fitna.
I even I for the big guys, I got this jacket today. It's so difficult for me to buy tall stuff that I had to go to Dandenong on the other side, 50 kilometers from here. Just one shop. There's two shops that buy big things. So I am absolutely with you. Believe in yourself. We all so many guys often comes and say, well, you know, I have this great idea, but nobody wants to give me some money. Do you believe in your idea?
Yeah.
You go do
Once
what
you bet on
can.
yourself, it's game over.
You know?
Because
people will recognize.
Sorry.
No, it's
I was gonna say
he came out from the back to the front.
He's,
I
it
was
was the first podcast
resurrected.
back. He's not used to it.
I was gonna say, my boys would just jump over each other. But what I was gonna say was, the thing about betting on yourself as well is, even if you fail, you know that, like, regardless, there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. You know, like, maybe it didn't work for this reason. I got to change this up, or like I got to improve it in this manner. And then at the end of the day, you can see, like, it might go that way and actually succeed. You know.
So going back to Jim Shark guy. He took him a years to get a first sale. Then that first sale through the website, not Spotify, what's called Shopify, and he started building, and then he go to Turkey, buy some stuff. Then he figured out, I'm gonna make my own stuff. The guy Zara, he looked at he was working as a tailor.
Armani, yeah.
You know, and he wanted to make a jacket that he saw one day, and the guy said, you don't know anything, like, just do what I'm telling you. He said, I want to make my own jacket.
Yep.
There's a ladies were I think in Spain or somewhere where he was working. They were without jobs, you know, these difficult times. So he started giving them some jobs. Today, that's one of the top 10, I think, richest guys in the world.
Yeah.
And you can't find a photo of him. So the way the people follow their passion, it's not even about, I want to be a billionaire. They want to solve this problem. They have a passion. I want to do this. I want to benefit people. And they just follow that. They believe that. Those vibes, those ideas. You know, if Allah bless you, that they can be a world-changing ideas.
A lot of the successful people, at least like wealthy people, a lot of the time money was never the goal. And I think that's where our problem is, where when we talk about investing, literally the purpose is for that. But I wanted to quickly just ask you, because we often talk about investments and we talk about finances, but there's other areas of your life you can invest in. You know, we had Sheikh Yahya Ibn on the episode, and he goes, you can never over-invest in education, in knowledge. He goes, buy books, don't even look at the price, just keep buying. Is there other areas that you might say that you even invest? Like, is it books? Is it maybe clothes? Is it energy, time for the community? What type of areas do you kind of...
So when we're talking about being wealthy is the state of balance where you have like enough time, you have a relationship. You want to have, let's say, when you think about a wealthy person, I want to make $1 million salary. Okay. But I want to have $1 million relationship with my wife, with my kids. You know, my spirituality, if I want to put like those $1 million, I want to make, you know. So if you have all of these pieces, you know, you are really well. If you have time, that's a wealth.
Yeah.
If you have time to read, if you have time to, if you have great friends, if you can socialize. I remember during the Bosnian War, one of the most beautiful memories is we had nothing. We had fire, waiting for bread to cook, and we were all days just chatting like this, no electricity, no nothing, bombs are falling. It was a very peaceful. I was peaceful. I was relaxed. You know, people. It was beautiful. We were chatting. So a lot of the time, again, because we are living in very capitalistic society, which is only about numerical growth. And we are told to believe that if the numbers are bigger, your happiness will be bigger. Doesn't really translate.
100%. So what you're saying is, when we get a Patreon, if people believe in us, they should support by sending $1 a day. Just
People should.
Almir is going to be the first one signed up.
This is I believe the people who are watching the podcast, the reason why they should go to Patreon. Do you have it there, by the way?
Nah.
We're gonna
We should have it. After this podcast,
We.
we set it up. The reason why you should subscribe is because this gives you different relationship with these people. So you watching your show and you supporting it, it gives you different relationship. It's a great satisfaction. And actually, you see the people who have succeeded. What motivates them in life a lot is giving. And so if you start training yourself to support other people, like, don't think about just a $7 subscription, for example. Put a $7, good number. It's like you're training yourself, your heart to give. That is training your heart for something that is great. Because you see, when we talk about risk, when we talk about investing, when we talk about all of these things, there is something in our heart. There is issue of scarcity. Our great-great-great-grandfather in paradise, he had 99.9999999%. And Shaitan came to him and said, you know what? This is the piece you're missing. It is 0.00001. Now, if you have this one,
You're good.
you're good. Now, now think about us now. We don't have 99.99999. We don't have even the 0.001. But we are told to give up that. Now, imagine impact on the heart, right? And so I remember one person, he was told that you need to pay zakat, and they say, oh, it's easy for these rich people to pay zakat. I only have like a couple of $1,000. I can't pay, I don't know, $100, $200 from my couple of thousand. All right? It's easy for these millionaires. So anyway, a few years after, he became a millionaire. So the people say, you need to pay zakat. Yeah, I said, I'm a millionaire. My zakat on $1 million is huge. It's easy for poor people, etc.
That's true.
Subhanallah.
The heart doesn't change.
It's a perspective. You want to train your heart to obey and take that fear out. So the best way is to give. So support people and do things.
Definitely. I wanted to touch on one. Did you want to ask a question? I wanted to go before we did the quick fire questions from Instagram and stuff. I wanted to ask you, on your journey to becoming who you are today, like, what is the one piece of advice you'd go back and give old Almir? It doesn't have to be just financial in general. It could be just life.
One great piece of advice that I got, actually two, they are building together, is when I was very difficult time. I got with some friends that were not really, let's say, most constructive. And as they say, you are average of your friends. So I felt that it was not going anywhere. It was not anything bad, but just it was not going anywhere. It's just like we reach certain level. It's sort of holding me down. And so I remember I realized that I need to move away. I need to find new friends, different things. I want a different path. So, but because I built a friendship around that, what I'm doing on Saturday night, like meetings, everything was so, and so it was a very difficult period for me. It was not working out. And so I remember somebody gave me advice. Somebody said, take your phone, and today is, I don't know, what day is today? I don't know, like 10 or 11.
It's the 11th, yeah. 11th.
So 11 November 2021. Put in your calendar, and I remember I had a Nokia phone, those typing thing. It's like, and I say, go 1 year in your calendar in future, and write down, my life will be different by this date. And I took my phone and I typed it out. Now I didn't know how that's gonna how would that happen, but I put that my life will be different. And from that day, I was making the moves that go to that direction. And at that particular also time, as I was moving away, it was very stressful. One sheikh gave me beautiful advice. He said, focus in life on things that you like to do and that relax you. And that was the beautiful piece of advice that I was able to grab on. And that's how a lot of things then started happening in my life and the career, changing different friends, so many changes. And after sometimes I got a mentor, one person who is maybe 10, 15 years above me, and I would go for a coffee and chat, and he gave me some beautiful advice. He would listen to what I had to say and what my challenges are, blah, 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 all that. And I said, looks like these might be things to consider. And that was a great, great piece. Like that sort of these 3 steps, deciding to move, going pursue what's relaxed me, what I enjoy doing, and then somebody to sort of, think through the steps to jump and
what did looking in the future do to inspire you? Because sometimes, for example, New Year's resolutions, we go, New Year, new me, I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
Start gym on Monday.
And Jan 4, we all stop.
Yeah.
So how did looking in the future inspire you? Did you just write one sentence, or did you write goals? Did you?
Yeah, so I knew clearly what I wanted, which is that I didn't want to be there in that environment anymore. These I need to find different friends, different lifestyle, different things, different mindset. As they say, you are average of the 5 people you most spend time with. And so you want to improve that, you improve that, change that. So I knew, and it's been breaking me and stress, and I knew that I had to do it. And so I had it very vividly where I want to go. And so every step I knew, if I take this step, it will take me there. But I was not taking those steps. So next day, I did action to take me that day. When I woke up, I wrote email, and I said what I said, and I started on those tracks. I started moving me. I started saying what I, and so that took a year. Well, it's not an easy to change a lot of things. It takes years to adjust. But I see a lot of people who went through, some of my friends that later went through a similar experience in life, they became very resentful. They started thinking, but these people, that happened to me, and they toxic very much. And that's where the second advice was like, don't live in the past. Don't blame. Don't complain. Don't this, that. Oh, he should have told me. He was my... Leave these people. Like, focus now on your life, what you're gonna do. Don't go into this spiral, because guess what's gonna happen to your heart? With that toxicity that holds it, it will poison you. And so that was a beautiful piece of advice. My energy, it took me 2 years to get over it, because people do certain things,
but you got over
breaks, get over it, but you focus, you grow, you're positive. That's something
amazing advice.
Yeah, I can quickly ask you some questions. We asked our Instagram audience. I incorporated a lot of their questions into the actual thing, but then there was just a couple more I wanted to quickly ask. So, what are some basic red flags to look for in stocks that can make it not halal?
If you look at the business, is the core business Sharia compliant or not? This is the core of the business. So that's the first, what we call qualitative screen. Then you look at how much debt they have and other things, you can have a look. But is the core, the essence of the business. Like you go Woolworths now. Woolworths, the core business is a liquor. So that rules that. Or you go Boeing, for example. That's a main manufacturer of defense contractor. And look at where their planes are used and bombed and so on. So you don't want to go there. But, so you want to, this is your first piece.
Okay. Best advice for beginners?
In what?
In beginner investors. Like the best advice,
Yeah, just do it a little bit. Just put 500
Just
bucks.
start, yeah,
just see what's happened.
Okay.
We're gonna
If you lost everything tomorrow, what would you do? Had to start fresh.
That's
That was
actually a very
actually
good
my question. Sorry, guys.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought about it in Maghrib Salat today.
don't Astaghfirullah.
Astaghfirullah. Shaitan.
I
Astaghfirullah.
would-
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I would go and finish university very, very fast and specialize in something like, for myself, that might be engineering or something like that. I love these kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, as point of university is one of. It took me years to finish university. I was having a problem, and a lot of problems in that area until I figured out how to study, how to do things, and so went up and down. And one professor gave me another beautiful advice. He said, "Purpose of university is to learn how to learn things quickly. You don't want to stay at university. You're not going to be expert in university. It's learning how to learn. You learn few ideas and words and things, but you're not expert in anything.
Do you think university teaches you how to learn?
Some, not all.
Yeah.
Some better university do that.
Okay.
A lower level university teach you just to do the work, So, but I would try to get the best university possible, try to use a skill, and then maybe focus on building some business like engineering. For me particularly, I love technology. Things are moving, so anything with a mix of coding and engineering pieces, you can build
And the world's
a
moving
lot of
in that
things.
direction as well,
So that's for me. It's something that I would focus on and build from there.
Okay.
Get a small group of people, tight group, develop things, probably
the-
around those areas.
Like the
Algorithm.
Amish.
I got two more. How did you start and keep it up?
How would you what?
These guys. Okay. How did you start investing and how did you keep it up as like a full-time thing early on?
So I would say that I'm probably someone who started a lot of myself with some friends, invested in different things together with other different people. I recognize that I don't know everything. I don't understand everything, but I recognize that there are sometimes people who are better, and so if I join with different people in something that even there is a risk, I learn, and we kind of spread the risk a little bit amongst us. I'm not somebody who is how would you call it, try to do everything by myself. I don't like that, and so I recognize my limits, and so I usually start with a group of people, get together. I was very fortunate to get to know certain people, and we do that together. We compensate each other, we add to each other's strengths, and then,
Also on that, do you listen to, because you said you listen to like Ali Abdul and listen to those podcasts. I didn't know you listen to those kind of things. Do you listen to like financial advice from, I just say like mainstream people that
Koshi.
aren't, pardon?
Koshi from Sunrise.
Does he give financial advice?
Do you listen to like financial advice and stuff?
I do. I listen. I read very widely conventional Islamic advisors, thinkers,
Okay.
podcasters, these.
What's some
business
books
and-
you'd recommend, Islamic or non-Islamic? Because you said before one Islamic, maybe there's a general one, because a lot of times we spoke today about investing, but a lot of people, you know, you spoke before about capital. A lot of people don't even know how to save, having an emergency fund. You know, what's the best method to do that? So maybe like
Well, good books you recommended, like Barefoot Investor. It's a great book.
Great book.
You
Right,
know,
yeah.
it's really a great book. He's got also podcast. It's not updated much, but great podcast. You have also, in terms of economics, you have Planet Money by NPR, one of the greatest
the NPR is good.
podcasts.
You didn't like Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I don't like that philosophy, to be honest.
Do you like the?
It's very appealing,
yeah.
but what they jump the step is that you don't have money to buy the philosophy.
That is very,
You know,
very
like,
true.
okay, all right. So
Yeah.
that's a bit of a major piece that I'm missing. You know, you know. So it's those fake gurus. You know, I would say.
For sure.
You know,
I think Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the things I liked about it was the whole idea of financial literacy, because that was the first time I heard of that concept. You know, in terms of your money actually. You better say something.
You know, I understand why this appeals to people. This is one of those emotional triggers that people relate to. Oh, you know, my poor dad didn't tell me this. If only I had this dad, you know, then I would, you know, it's so easy, so tempting to make excuse.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and to see yourself in that light. Or if only this. This is what I was saying to my friends. You still live in the past. You making excuses for yourself to live in the past.
For sure.
And you put ownership of advice and channeling and all of that on, you know. So I it's so easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they just think, oh no, that's a beautiful. It sounds so beautiful. There is so tempting to go with that story.
For sure. Yeah.
Crush these dreams, man. Look at it.
No. I disagree with you in the sense that, like, I think the benefits that I took away from it further led me into understanding how I spend my money, the ways that I look at money. Like, for example, tax and the whole concept of tax. You know, prior to that, the way that I understood money was just simply how you said at the start. You know what I mean? Like the notion that we're taught, because we're not taught about how to spend our money, how to save our money, how to invest our money in school nowadays. Yeah. Whereas when after reading that book, I learned that, like, there's more to money than just getting it, spending it on the weekend or spending it with my mates. You know, like I could possibly go and invest it, you know. But I agree with the whole, there's a lot of fallacies in it. Like, there's so many, like, it can put you in some sort of trap, you know.
Of course, what you are saying are those bits and pieces that are true.
Yeah.
And you know, even no one will just give you falsehood and you'll swallow that. It has to be wrapped in these bits and pieces. Tai Lopez, the biggest scammer in the internet, mate. He's gonna say a few things. I was just the other day, I don't know how his thing come up with, you know. I was thinking, how can anybody believe this guy? Knowledge. Oh my God. He will say a few things, you know. He will say a few things. I mean, that's how you get you into this. So,
and a lot of those things are very technical. You don't remember it.
Yeah.
Because he speaks about so many technical stuff.
And you hear it for the first time, so you think this is genius. Like, this is like, wow, this is like, you know, why no one is telling that. Like the one guy we were listening, I don't know who was the YouTuber, he made the video of the Coffeezilla. You know what Coffeezilla? Oh my God, this guy is a killer. So he got these TikTok advice people. And this kid, like, he said, buy low, sell high. And he's like, wow, mind blown. No one ever thought about that. You know, like, so it's like, you know, it appeals, you know, but you have to be real, like,
100%.
But other books, like, I think the problem a lot of people today having is they are not taught how to think.
For sure.
There is a great book to teach you how to think about economy. Maybe this author is a bit controversial, a bit more conservative side. What's his name? Thomas Sowell. His book is like, I think, Basic Economics or something like that. It's a great piece on how to just think like economists, because economics is about causes and effects. It's not even just about money. It's just incentives and things that is happening and how things happen, you know. Some other interesting things, if you are into investment, Tony Robbins got a Money Mastered the Game, where he interviewed 50 top investors. Principles by Ray Dalio.
Yeah. On Ray Dalio, I got a quick question. Is there a certain investor you are inspired by? Because obviously there's no one investing strategy out there. You know, like you got your Warren Buffett ones where he invests, you invest based on ideas. Like Warren Buffett's got this concept where like people ask him like, how do I make money off stocks? How do I make money off stocks? He goes, think of it this way. If you had like a limited amount of it's called investment options in your life, wouldn't you choose a certain investment very carefully? Yeah. So let's just say if you only had 20 options, then you wouldn't be chucking your money in Colgate, then I don't know, Ford one moment, then this, that. He goes, if you had 20 options, then you'd be very particular about which one you do. But then you got like Ray Dalio, who's got like the all-weather profile type of one, the portfolio. Do you have a certain investment strategy that you're inspired by?
You listen that philosophy Ray's got, Warren Buffett, I like his way of thinking, definitely, very much how Muslims should be thinking.
Yeah.
He is investor, not a speculator.
Yeah, he doesn't speculate.
He buys things that are real, that are going to, do something, and I think that makes sense. So I don't follow anybody in particular, but I try to understand what are bits and pieces.
For sure.
At the end of the day, you want to be involved in something that produces the benefit, something that makes sense to you.
That is true. Yeah.
So I mean, there are a lot of these books. Podcast things,
There's
YouTube full. Yeah.
I'm gonna now give it to you because you have a lot of information online, a lot of podcast stuff. And now, if people just heard of you for the first time and want to get into it, do you have a series that you might recommend? Because like I went onto your website today. There's blogs, there's podcasts, there's YouTube videos. It's like, where do I start? Is there like I think you guys should start here? This would be a good.
I'm trying to build like episodes in Islamic Finance Podcast where I record and I slowly go like. Okay, what's Islamic economic system? First season was like, how are we different than socialism, capitalism, all of these things? You know, what's our piece? And I came up with a model for Islamic economy that's a new model to frame Islamic economy. And that came from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ who said that you all are shepherds, and the shepherds got specific jobs, and then those jobs correspond to the 3 pillars of Islamic economy. And then I try to frame it and show superiority of Islamic economic system to other systems. Then in the second season, we talk more about transactions and what's permissible, how to think, how to break down what's happening in transactions so you can analyze for yourself. Awesome. And then the third season, we did livelihood. We did book by a famous student of Abu Hanifa, Muhammad Shaybani, who is talking about earning a livelihood. What's Islamic perspective on wealth? And then he goes in all of different points of view. Is it better to be, patient and not have wealth? Or is it better to be generous and have wealth? And, all kind of discussion. Is it good to have it? Or is it not? Is it better to not? So all kinds of opinion about wealth. And so I'm trying to build that sort of take piece by piece in more sort of systematic way where we go through different questions that we have. So next season might be about these digital things that are happening or maybe banking and stuff like that. Other than that, I try to put some videos.
So if someone wants to get in, just start from the start.
I think a podcast is a good, easy way, easy to understand.
Almir Colan, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, website, Facebook.
You wrapping it up without me asking about NFTs?
No, I'm just saying that's the place to go.
Hey, we're going to NFTs?
Yeah, I'm going to NFTs. I did a bit of research myself.
What does it stand for?
Don't play games with me, bro. I know what I'm talking about, yeah. But I wanted to ask, Almir, obviously you're pretty well versed with that sort of stuff at the moment. I wanted to see whether or not you believe it's a viable alternative to cryptocurrency and so on, or whether or not we should just maybe wait it out for a bit because it's still in the process of being built, and it seems more so like a quick money grab type of thing. Because I've been doing my own research, for example, we're looking at the Disney ones.
Disney princesses?
Yeah, I bought Tangled, bro, 100%.
As in like on Vivi?
In my bank account as well.
Wait, which Disney ones? On Vivi or OpenSea?
Vivi.
Okay.
And I wanted to see like what your perspective was on it, like just in general.
I think we had the NFTs for a while. People don't realize, whenever you play these games like Fortnite and things like that, those are NFTs. Those skins you buy and things like that. That is before NFTs. This is your digital assets that are unique in a sense, kind of unique, but everybody can have them. So they are kind of fungible as well.
Yeah.
So we are moving more into this space where people are flexing with some digital assets. Like before, they used to flex with some other stuff, you know.
Beautiful way of
But
saying
now you are having, okay, look at my gallery. I bought a tweet, I bought a picture, I bought a whatever, you know, rock.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that we are entering into this new era of vanity when it comes to the how people want to project their image. And NFTs are kind of primary driver of people being proud of their, now I have these things.
Yeah.
Like there is no utility in it, you know. Like, and even when you say, oh, but they are art and it's a subjective, you know, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think it's normal to buy Mona Lisa for $500 million. This is nonsense. Like,
yeah, true.
piece of paper, if you are buying that, something is wrong with you. Like that is something that is vanity.
Yeah.
So specifically more NFT seemed to me that we bought into the idea where there is a piece of junk that no one would look, but put it into NFT on the blockchain, piece of gold. Like how does that transformation take place? If I was to print it or do it or clip it or whatever, nobody would care. How does that become value once you put it on the thing, you know? And so I think there is a lot of these selling hot air that this will be future of you will get in touch. Even a lot of these influencers, and that's why the CoffeeZilla he's a slayer of these things. Look at the Jake Paul recent, like, oh my God, he's just flogging.
He's violating her here, yeah. Logan Paul and his ones, yeah.
Oh my God, he's flogging. And the worst piece is when they have all these, we're gonna save the children token, and
damn, your dad's into it. Like I would have expected like Charlie or a Buffett, but Phase K.
So I think as a guy especially, there is a tendency we want to succeed. Like as a man, you want to succeed, you want to have the things. You know, there is a reason why guys like cars and corner offices and things. That builds to your prestige, you know.
For sure.
And I feel this impulse as a man provider and having the stuff and taking care of business. Usually the reason why it's not that the guys traditionally, it's not that they wanted the car and a corner office because, wow, not something. What that signals is that this is the guy who's able to take care of the things. He's able to solve the problem. We can trust that guy to take care of the problems. This is just a certificate, you know, well done thing. Applause for somebody who is able to take responsibility for something in life.
For sure.
All right, and this is where people gravitate to. People gravitate. Now, that instinct of that we have internally to be able to do that. Maybe we're falling short as a society, and there is a pandemic, so people playing more games, people living, and they don't know what to do, especially young people. So then they think, okay, now I'm losing my time. I need to get all of that stuff, at least illusion. So what's the quickest way I can gamble something, twist money, and do to get all of that stuff? And so what we develop is it's very short.
FOMO.
But short-term mentality. Just let me get quickly so I go back.
For sure.
And so I think what we are losing with so much focus on these things and get rich quick from this is that we stop thinking that I should be somebody who is working, contributing, involved, having the balanced life, somebody who can be dependable, trusted, my family can rely on me, you know, and I think a long-term player. And more these kind of ideas that if I flip a few of these things or this and that, then something will happen, and then I'll go back to my old life. So I think as a society we're losing a lot of men in that kind of I don't know what. So what, like
NFTs, like a write-off to a degree? So going back to the NFT thing. So what's your thoughts on NFTs?
I mean, if there was something in those NFTs where we could say here is the purpose, here is what it does
for sure.
specifically.
Yep.
And you want to have an NFT, right?
Then go for it.
You know,
yeah.
as I said, it's a neutral, but like, what are these things?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't want to go into, but even crypto, like what do we need crypto for? Like, I can pay with my Apple Pay and the card and the phone, everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like I'm having a problem paying stuff.
Yeah.
What exactly are you solving for me?
That's true. That's true.
Different kind of investing.
You're right about the vanity thing. A lot of like the world of like NFT is based off of showing off, but in a digital aspect.
Yes.
Like it's the whole concept of collectibles. I only have one of this item, and there's only 3 out there in the world. You know what I mean? And I think people are gambling or betting on the aspect that because the world is moving in that digital world, a digital aspect, that when it does come to that, I will have a crypto punk to show for it. Or like if the world goes to AI, it's called, and what's that thing called where
VR, virtual reality,
not virtual reality, but
AI.
No, you know that thing where you the hologram. It's like when holograms or whatever those things come out, then I can show off my NFT in that aspect. I think people are like doing the long-term gamble in the sense that like when it comes to that aspect, I will have that. Because like CryptoPunk, if you do look at the actual artwork, it's shocking. It's like
pixelated people.
It's pixelated people. But the value of CryptoPunks doesn't come from the actual art itself. It comes from the fact that this was one of the first NFTs to exist. You know what I mean? So people are betting on the fact that I was the first in this.
Sure.
So then when it gets to like 5 years down the line, if this does go off, Gary Vee says it himself. He's very, very involved in that world. He goes 98% of NFTs are going to fail. So stop being delusional in the sense that you think every single project that does come out there is going to succeed, because a lot of it is the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts also like on Facebook and its change to like a Metaverse? Because that was a big news that came out recently, because they're also moving into the digital world, and they're one of the biggest pioneers in sort of the Web 2,
Like I feel Mark Zuckerberg got one day in his bedroom and he created the comparing website with the girls and boys and everybody, got jumped onto and Facebook got in, Now he thinks every idea that he come up with is a gold. You just hit something lucky, I mean, just the idea that we're going to have this and floating in space. Oh, look at me on the street and this is hard. Nobody's going to work like that. It's not going to happen, So I think it's just, Facebook is dying, basically. No one goes anymore on Facebook. So
unless you're old.
I mean, there is nothing, just advertisement. I've been selling on Facebook, pumping. So I see my own advertisements now.
Subhanallah.
So I mean, it's a free world. Go try something. I don't think that's going to work. I don't see that. I don't see us. It's like one of those ideas just before Zoom. Everybody thought digital education. Everybody's sick of Zoom, Mike. People don't want that. People want to sit like this. I don't want to sit and you are a red bubble and you are pink bubble and I'm yellow bubble and we are floating. Like that's not my idea of having fun. What is that?
Virtual reality Jum'ah prayer. That'll be interesting.
That'll be crazy. What's the fiqh behind that? That's crazy.
It was like one sheikh said, when the monitor start bowing down, then you can follow it.
I think regardless though, I think the NFT world, another great aspect, like for digital creators, it's one of the most amazing things to come out, in terms of giving them a platform where they can, I guess, distribute their work, because I don't know if this thing does pop off or it does turn into good or whatever. I don't know. I'd see Fair Income probably, we'd have NFT Fair Income episodes or something along those lines. So
all I can hear is someone's invested in this already and they're trying to.
100%. I'm on the NFT wave, 100%. I'm deep into it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's what you're describing is more like membership.
True.
And the point, even when you go to Islamic commercial transaction, it's important to understand that even when you're selling membership and let's say you package it as an NFT, you have to be specific. What are you saying? You can't be vague. You'll have, if I have some streaming, you'll jump into me. Like subject matter of that transaction, what I'm buying is not very clear to me.
Exactly, and as the consumer as well. Like you can't be buying an NFT or joining this membership if you don't want to be in it as well. Like for example, like one of the reasons like Gary Vee wants to start his NFT projects is, Gary Vee by the way when I say him, is like, for example, when he does these, when he goes to these theaters and he sells out these events and whatnot, he wants people to pay in the form of NFTs. So it's like a membership only club, you know, so you can only get in if you have this NFT or whatnot, you know. But
when I see those things, what I think about is how much money is he put into it and how much is he trying to get back from it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times when we see people like, for example, Elon Musk, he says, go to this coin. And then he sees his money rise.
hey, he's made us money. Wallah, he's made us money.
Yeah, but he made himself more money than you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't know anyone else at Gary Vee's level that's talking about NFTs as much. And that's probably because he invests in it. So the more he talks about it, the more people like us get on it, and then he makes more money.
But you know, when you are analyzing this space and people like Gary and other people saying stuff, you have to think about a little bit differently.
Yeah. We're not Gary Vee.
I mean, the way you frame, first of all, what you are looking in front of yourself has to be with a specific lens. And the lens is that, like one banker was explaining to me, what's the banking business? He said the banking business is if you look at the pot and you have people on one side and another side, and then the money is flowing between people, you know? And then the banker put some honey on his hand, and then he stuck his hand inside. Okay, so some money will stick as the money moves around. That's a core of banking business. So when these people are telling us NFT, you know, they have nothing really to lose.
True.
They are the creators, so they are not on the hook if this will go on. Short term, long term, whatever happens, they are benefiting. So they are just priming us.
Yeah,
We are the customers here.
for sure.
And so if we just think, okay, because Gary Vee says, let's, go, therefore, you have everything to lose. He is not risking. He can put JPEGs, whatever, much as, and then he got a couple of Zoom calls and that's it, you know.
True.
You know, you have $10,000 for a few Zoom
For
calls,
sure,
you know.
for sure.
You know,
100%.
so again, we just have to be more wiser, like, what am I really buying here?
They call that, what do you call it, like rug pulls and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when people tell them, oh, hop onto that coin or hop onto that project,
You
and then they take all their assets out straight away. And then
go
you're
chase him down.
What's
Go
the
find
one?
Gary
What's
Vee.
the squid
Game project?
coin that?
yeah, the rug pull that happened to it.
2 trillion pound zero
Yeah, straight away.
So this is another. Anyway, this is.
It's like Elon Musk. He tweeted something out the other day, Texas University or something like that, and someone took Texas State University or something along the lines, the abbreviations of it, and turned it into a coin. Straight away. So once he tweets out something on Twitter, they straight away turn it into a coin. So everyone dumps straight into it. That's anything Elon Musk says. But I guess that's society nowadays. But I think we wrap it up there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that there's so many difference of opinions even in this industry, you know. But I think a lot of the people here had questions, and a lot of the answers can't be straight away. It's not like get rich quick. That's a big thing you're trying to preach. It's not one podcast and you're going to get all the answers. For a lot of you guys, you're going to have to invest your time and energy if this is something you want. If you want to, as they say, make money when you sleep or whatever, make money, you're going to have to invest time, invest in Almir's courses. There's so many of them. There's so many podcasts and things. You can't expect things to just come to you. You have to put in the work. And that's a big thing that we try to preach. Hopefully we can get Almir on again. Jazakallah khairan for coming on. Wallah, amazing episode. You know?
Thank you guys. I really enjoyed it.
Alhamdulillah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.